How's it going, everybody? It's been a couple days, and because of that, a whole bunch more when it comes to roster changes during the offseason. We're going to break this down into two different parts. First part is going to be confirmations. These are things that are official, things that have been officially announced, whether it be from the organization, the player, things that are 100% confirmed. Second thing we're going to do is then talk about some of the rumors, the speculations, and some of the new things that have actually happened. Conversations that are going, different reports, potential things. I will make sure to clarify when we get into that again in the video, just as like an all-encompassing of saying, hey, these are not 100%. They are potential. Let's talk. Let's theory craft. Let's have some healthy conversation, but let's not take it as fact. And then last but not least, I'll show you guys my roster document, and I'll make sure to link everything I talk about in the description down below. So if you guys are having issues with staying up to date on these things, at least there's a one-stop shop, a place to go where you can do it. So before we get into it, as always, like, subscribe, notifications helps me out greatly. Trying to hit 50k. We're less than 1,000 away from 50k. We're almost there. It's awesome. But we're gonna jump straight into the roster changes. Some of these might be old, some of these might be new, but we'll have to see it together. First one, we were talking about FaZe and the potential of what's going on. They were rumors, and now it's confirmed. First and foremost, FaZe update does put out that effective as of August 23rd, AJ has been moved from starting roster to the bench, and he remains under FaZe Clan as they evaluate their options moving forward. And things to talk about with that statement. When you're talking about future potential, future things that could and could not happen, when it talks about evaluating our options, there's a lot of different factors. If AJ is now on the bench, that means one of maybe three things. One, he's looking for a different team. Two, they could be trying out different iterations. It could be AJ first killer random, Typical first killer random. Like they could be trying out a bunch of different options, and say all those options they try out don't work. They may just stick with what they have. So those are things. But if it is AJ going to the bench and nobody else, it's very likely that first killer and Typical are trying to find a new third, and if they can't find a good new third, then AJ may come back. I would say if I'm AJ though, and that's the conversation, having to fight for my spot is going to create some animosity, whether they want to or not. It's gonna create a weird situation if he stays there. So very likely, and what is assumed is AJ will go elsewhere, as he says he can't wait for what's next. I would assume AJ potentially has already found a new home, but again, the offseason is early. So AJ technically looking for a new team. I assume he has a buyout, so someone's gonna have to pay FaZe a bunch of money to get AJ, and vice versa. They're probably gonna use that money to pick up a new player. What will actually happen? Who the heck knows? Speaking of players that were LFT, one of them in particular was missed, and joining him on that Optic roster is now Turbo. Turbo teased and had an announcement but couldn't really say anything about it, hence the meme that we got in Turbo fashion, but has now officially announced that he is a restricted free agent and will be looking for options. Wants to stay in NA, but always down for talks in Europe as well. Again, Turbo has been tainted by the NA money that comes from being in North American esports. Jokes aside for him though, restricted free agent, as a reminder, states that he is still under contract with Optic, probably has a buyout associated to him as well. He is still under contract, so that contract either needs to be bought out or expired in some way mutually before he is allowed to go elsewhere. Turbo obviously has been sitting on the sidelines as the coach, as a temporary stand-in, as a kind of marked by 8 situation. Curious to see on where he ends up next. So don't know if Turbo's gonna be in NA, EU. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, we got my own gif of Turbo popping off. It's not even Turbo in that video, by the way. I forget who is actually wearing his face, which is kind of like a Ed Geenish type statement. It's kind of weird, but sick moves, Turbo. Sick moves. Up next, jumped across the pond. We've got Crew Esports. I can't speak that, but it does talk about BEMS. And the reason why I bring this up is because there is kind of like a triangle of talent that's all associated between Crew, the club, KV1, and like a couple others that's been going on. So BEMS, they said, hey, thanks, we appreciate the love, we're separating paths, etc., which then came to the club. And this is not official, this is more of a rumor and a report that was provided, but the club, who ironically was the second best performing team in South America, it was Furia, and then the club was the third seed from South America, performed really well. Like they went to game 7 against Furia to make top 8. Like they were 9-12, and it was a 1 game difference. It was super close. And there's been a lot of conversations, for those that don't follow South America, about KV1 and potentially being a replacement. But KV1 played extremely well at LAN, so it is weird to see that separation. I still think Lost is absolutely cracked. But the Brazilian club team, based upon rumors and conversations in this like post or report that was brought out, is that there's a chance that Bems, who is on crew, no longer will be taking the spot of KV1 on the club. Obviously, a lot of love around KV1 and his 1v1 and his prowess in that regard. So interested to see on how that one plays out. So those two are kind of paired together. It'll be interesting to see on what happens, because that means then there's a spot on crew and everything else. I don't expect Furia to change anytime soon because they're absolutely sick. But again, a lot of moving parts in other regions. Speaking of other regions, we got to talk about Renegades. And CJ ends up retiring. And then shortly after, the performance coach of Lachlan Parker, or LBP, is no longer with the team, which kind of an odd situation. I don't know exactly the details of this. I know CJ is obviously a big conversation piece, and now it is Fever and Kami having to find a new third. But to then also lose the performance coach, which has had his first season in the RLCS and actually made a massive impact. From every time I've talked to Lachlan, as well as the guys on Renegades, Lachlan was absolutely loved by everybody there. So very interesting to see that, if it was a personal reason or something else. But Lachlan did put out a post. I don't know if he quote tweeted it or not, but Lachlan did have some thoughts on that. So if you want to go check out his Twitter, it is coach_LBP, I'm pretty sure. But he does talk a little bit more in detail about next steps. So that type of thing going on. Up next, we got Skillsteal, who is also LFT. Skillsteal used to play for the Pirates, one of the older ones on the space. And apparently I'm getting hit with bots. No, I don't need thumbnail help. Get out of here. Wojtek does a great job. But Skillsteal is LFT as well. Again, APAC and all these expansion regions are kind of a unique conversation piece for me personally, just because it's the first time that they've been exposed to the RLCS. For the first time in 5 years, they're getting a chance to actually do like consistent tournament play. And he played extremely well for Pirates. So I don't know if it's him trying to give himself an opportunity to say, hey, I am good. Let's see what's out there, or otherwise. But from what I saw, like Pirates and stuff were doing pretty solid. Like they didn't have any complications. They got a win. Like things were good. So again, you're seeing from Darth and everything else, like a lot of other players in the space showing him love and giving him support. So it's already really difficult trying to keep track of all the craziness that happens in the RLCS for 2 regions. And now we got to do it for 7. So that's kind of tough. But again, Skillsteal, LFT, I am excited to see what APAC brings to the table for the next season. Any of those other regions, you can also talk. This one hasn't been reported yet, but I do know from MENA, there is conversation of the 3 young guns from MENA pairing up. Rawas, Kalirs, and I forget how you say his name, but it's Nobo. And there is a lot of conversation of all 3 of those young guns making a super team over in MENA, which very much so excites me. So I will be interested to see if that happens or not. Up next, Dmentza. If you guys remember or not, Dmentza is announcing he is no longer competing. I hate to see this kind of coming out. Not that anybody cares, because I care, Dmentza. But he is no longer competing. He says, thanks to everyone who supported me and all. Dmentza has definitely had some pretty prolific moments, but just never really found the footing. And it tends to happen a lot, I think, in RLCS, and maybe Roldiz and his raid party can provide some insight as well. Again, congratulations to Roldiz on the FaZe spot. Appreciate the raid and sending the crew over. But Dmentza just felt like he never found his footing on a solidified team and able to have the chance. You've seen that a lot. I think Stake was part of that conversation too with the K Corp situation. So obviously he's now, I think, with like Williams Resolve or whatever the heck he became. Like, again, these guys pop around so much. It's just tough. There's a lot of players I think that have a ton of potential that just haven't found that solidification with the roster, and it makes it scary. Also, while we have him here, Roldiz, who's your new third on FaZe? Leak it. It's for a video, please. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'll even clickbait the title for you. Maybe he'll say it in chat. We'll have to wait and see. But speaking of rumors and everything else going on, we now are talking about the rumors section of the video. Before I get into what those rumors are and the conversations that are around them, again, these are presented by Shift. Shift's doing the dirty work, talking to people behind the scene. They have a fantastic track record, but this is my clarification. These are not confirmed. They are not confirmed until you either A, see the player tweet about it in a serious manner, not just baiting for impressions, looking at you, Rise, or 2, you see it from the organization. And I'm not talking like a spoof parody account that spells the name with an L instead of an I and stuff like that. Like actual verified Twitter accounts. Okay, it's good to create conversation. It's good to have discussion and theory crafting and all that kind of stuff. But understand these are rumors. They're not 100% confirmed. They probably won't be confirmed for another couple months or whenever the heck RLCS 21, 22, 23 is getting announced. So with that said, let's jump into these rumors. We got a handful for you. The first one, Complexity. There is talks of Complexity possibly making changes. Obviously, they were just shy of making top 5 and going to Worlds. And the conversation is potentially that Shad is likely to be leaving. If they do, the rumor is that Sadness of Team Secret is rumored to be the likely replacement. There's also talks of CRR potentially doing some tryouts because Raisebowl and him hang out a bunch. There's a lot of conversations about some of these South American teams and who may make international transfers, and there's some craziness going on. People are saying apparently Jack potentially coming to the United States. Who the heck knows? I also don't know what that means for Shad. Does Shad go and try to replace the spot that we saw from the club, which I don't think is a bad idea? Like, there's a lot of opportunities of where things may end up, but that's kind of what we're waiting on, is seeing where this kind of shift will go. Terrible joke. Didn't mean to make the pun. But again, this is a rumor. It's not officially confirmed, but Complexity potentially going to be moving on from Shad, looking at Sadness from Team Secret. Never know where that will end up. The next one, as I accidentally clicked, K Corp. After having a very solid performance and looking absolutely fantastic, I would say, on Championship Sunday, looking to rebuild around Itachi. You guys don't remember Itachi originally got brought in Season 3 of the RLCS, but because he was from Morocco, he wasn't eligible to play in the RLCS. He then came back in, I think, Season 8 or 9, I'm pretty sure it was, after moving to France, I think it was, and is now a mainstay. Very, very talented player. Joined K Corp. They brought in Nolly towards the tail end of the season. They made a phenomenal run. We were able to make the World Championship, place top 8, and look like a consistent, dominant team. Astral also looking good. So are Nolly and Astral looking for a new organization together? Are they looking for completely different teams altogether? Are they even sticking together? Who knows what they're doing? But from the sounds of it, K Corp is trying to rebuild around Itachi. Who knows what will happen with that? I did talk to Astral for like an hour and a half at LAN about some other stuff that I'm not going to share just out of personal reasons, but very interested to see on what happens there, because I do think Astral specifically as like a French player is starting to break out of his shell. Very much so, more talkative, not afraid to talk to media and be kind of that outgoing personality, despite all the flack that he got of the mentality issue of the like calm down situation that happened, when in reality it's just him trying to focus up and perform his best. And Nolly was kind of the teammate along with Itachi that realized, hey, oh, he's definitely Belgian, but he speaks French, because French teammates, all that kind of stuff. I don't know what the native language is for Belgium, but he speaks French anytime I see him, or English when he's talking to me, because I can't speak French. But Astral has talked numerous times about how when he is focused up, when he's in a big, intense moment, he doesn't want to speak. He wants to just focus in and play his game. And that was communicated to Nolly and Itachi, and it worked extremely well. So to see them no longer do that is very interesting. But I do like these two as a duo together. I think it's very successful. But again, I'm not in those conversations. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know what conversations are like during scrims and everything else. So surprised to see K Corp split, but at the same time, if they think there's better options, then this was just a temporary band-aid. We'll have to wait and see. Curious on what happens with K Corp, especially with the ratio that Nolly's able to pull anytime he tweets, because that blue wall team is wild. Up next, Team Vitality is one that has been part of the conversation for quite a while now, just because the results, even with Redosin, have not been there. There's kind of a bunch of different ways you can talk about Team Vitality, and uncertain is probably the best answer. And I would say that even without anything from Shift being reported. It seems like Redosin is trying thirds with both Alpha and KDOP. So again, we talk about those different iterations that can happen with AJ. Redosin Alpha random, Redosin KDOP random. Who knows what that may be? Also, if I'm someone like Alpha 54, I know I'm that good. I am taking every tryout opportunity possible. I know I am a top dog. I am going and doing everything I can with every different team that offers me a tryout, and I'm trying to find a home that feels good and that has a chance to be successful. Vitality's name is just synonymous with success, and it's been a long time since they've been in that conversation after the general and gradual descent. Trying out potentially Exotic, former Semper, that was that replacement for a temporary place. But who knows? And I think this is what's so difficult and why I say, hey, understand that it is rumor. It's not official. It's not locked in. People shouldn't automatically be like, oh, it's Redosin Alpha and Exotic. That's the new team for Vitality. keep an open mind. These players are trying because they have another 10, 11-month season together with only potentially 1 or 2 roster changes in between, and they need to start on a good foot. Case in point is you look at Energy. They start really well. They kind of teeter off, and they don't have the greatest performances towards the tail end, but that's still enough to get them to the World Championship. So starting strong is really important. So they're going to try out, and in Europe, because there is such a plethora of talent, so many different iterations, so many different teams, different potentials, different iterations. Because you're talking Redosa, Alpha, and Exotic is totally different of a team of Redosa, K-Dop, and Exotic. Again, you have to try out those different iterations, and that's just the ones that are being talked about right now. So I expect a bunch of different players that they consider of prolific talent status to be tried out, see what they look like in scrims, and then from there, try to decipher what is the best option and which one is going to stick. Because there's also a chance that maybe some of these other teams, maybe again, hypothetical, Redosa and Alpha and Exotic look great, but Alpha also gets a tryout with Itachi and someone else. And you're like, shoot, this is also really good. What do I do? There is a chance that he decides to go and take that route. Maybe money plays a factor. Maybe, like, there's so many things.
Insert dad joke here.
Haha, funny joke. There are so many different factors that go into what makes these teams become solidified. And to know that we are only a couple weeks into the roster solution is why I say keep an open mind. You never know what's going to happen. Now, these aren't necessarily rumors, but these are just conversations. And to provide perspective, both Tox and Ivan are talking about some of the super teams that are forming, and I wanted to speak to this. So Ivan says EU next season is going to be stacked. Super teams that are forming are going to be ridiculous, and that is more so what this conversation has been about. Again, these were all towards the second half of this video. These are all rumors, speculation, not officially confirmed, and because of those moving parts, there's a lot of different things that are going to happen. So again, keep in mind when you're watching these videos, especially the unconfirmed ones from Shift, because I think they are great conversation pieces. They get people to theorycraft. You have to think about, okay, hypothetically, BDS most likely staying together. World champs, no reason to switch anything after the Seiko acquisition. They should be fine. Moist, maybe they change. Maybe things aren't all peachy keen. We thought Space Station were boys, and look what happened there. Who knows what might happen with Moist? You look at Dignitas and the players and the caliber of talent that could switch around. We don't know. So you want to talk about the forming of super teams and the potential that could happen should also excite you, but also should terrify you if you're a North American fan. So I think as of right now, the only 2 rosters in EU that are safe are BDS and Liquid. Other than that, I don't have a clue. So with that said, that is going to do it for your roster conversations for today. I say keep an open mind. Again, I'm not saying the Moist Boys are breaking up. I'm not saying that stuff is potential, but just overall, keep an open mind about some of the moving parts and other things going on, and I will try to do my best when we get a whiff of it, whether it be through Shift or otherwise, to report on it for you guys to make it public on this channel. So again, shouts to Shift and the efforts they're putting in over there to find out some of this information. Whether it's confirmed or not, it still creates awesome discourse and conversation pieces. And more importantly, I will make sure to always separate them in 2 parts if I can. Confirmations versus rumors and reports. So that said, if you guys enjoy the content, links to everything I'm talking about in the description down below, along with the last thing I have to show you, which is my roster document. This is part 3, the surprise part 3 of the video in the outro. NA and EU, I'll be breaking it down at the end of the season. And once teams and rosters start to become solidified, I will put them together. We've also got 2 sections on the side. You've got confirmations and rumors. Based upon when they're updated, we'll be doing this probably after this video and updating this list with all the stuff we just talked about. Join us, twitch.tv/Lawler. We do this pretty much every day, but Tuesday and Sunday. If you'd like to be part of the conversation and discuss the different things going on, that is where we do it. This link also to this document in the description down below. And while you're down there, check out the socials, join the Discord where conversations happen, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, all that kind of stuff. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.